And I'd like to welcome to the stage our first speaker of this track, Maggie Mesa from Chartboost, who's here to talk about why trust and transparency are crucial to your ad monetization strategy. So thanks, Maggie.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me. All right, thank you for having me and welcome to the second day of PGC. I was definitely not supposed to be here, so thanks for letting me sub in. So before we get started, I thought it would be good to just introduce Chartboost. So most people know us as one of the earliest cross-promo ad networks from 11 years ago. We had amazing GDC parties, allegedly a dinosaur in our office, but a lot of things have changed since then. And one of the things we want to talk about is trust and transparency and why that's important with driving and improving monetization. So a little bit about Chartboost. Massive SDK footprint, 90 billion auctions per month, 14,000 SDKs, and what do we do with all of that? And why is trust and transparency critical for the success of your ad monetization strategy? So let's jump in. All right. Okay, so today's mediation landscape is a bit of a black box. And I hear this a lot where everybody says, well, mediation is done. Well, that's just not true. At the end of the day, what's happening today is there's no transparency on how auctions are run, no transparency on which demand sources are even able to participate in these auctions, and there's no transparency on the deals between demand and supply sources. And so what's happening is all of the control is being taken away from developers, both on the ad monetization side, as well as all of the buyers on the demand side. So I just sat through an amazing panel. They did a great job talking about diversity of demand, diversity of ad formats. All of that is put at risk by what's happening today in the mediation landscape. So let's talk a little bit about what drives performance for mediation today. First, you just need to make sure that all of your demand sources are able to participate. That is not happening equally across all platforms. We know that. You guys know that better than I do. Developers know that firsthand. And that's key and critical to ensure that you guys are getting the most out of your mediation stack, is that all of your demand sources can participate. Second, you want to make sure that all of your major ad formats are supported and supported by your demand partners. Bidding. 2023 is a year of bidding. 2022 is a year of bidding. 2024 will be the year of bidding. You need to make sure that as many sources of demand participating in your stack are bidding as possible without any conflict. Everybody should be able to access your supply through bidding, through your mediation stack today. Four is reporting. You need to understand what's happening with your users and your monetization. Who's buying what, at what price points? Where are things breaking down if they are at all? So reporting is key and critical to any mediation stack. And then last but not least is a unified platform. Everybody needs to be competing at the same time in a unified auction with equal transparency across all demand sources. So, when not every demand source is created equal, or treated equal, I should say, this is what's happening today. Is this leading to lower CPMs? There's already enough going on in the market today. Again, amazing panel before me talked about the recession, the pandemic ending, users going back to everyday life, so to speak. We don't need a mediation stack that's actually driving prices down. So you need to make sure that all of your demand sources are able to compete equally within your stack. So what happens when when platforms favor their own demand? Publishers lose control, right? At the end of the day, developers want to be able to control their own stack. Two, there's also over-reliance on one partner, so all of your eggs go into one basket. So as you're navigating a recession, or the ending of a pandemic, or all of the various other macroeconomic impacts of this year, you want to make sure that you are not over-reliant on any one partner. The diversity of demand is what's going to help create competition and drive CPMs up. Potential conflict. At the end of the day, you want to be able to control how your users are monetized, not the platform itself. The developers want to be able to set up which demand sources, which price points, both waterfall and network bidding, and they don't want to lose control over that. That just adds business risk. There is enough dynamics within the market this year that you want to make sure that you have full control over your stack. All right, so why is trust and transparency really important? All of this is because it drives a fair ecosystem. So our industry is still dominated by user acquisition, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your inventory is available for all sources of demand to bid equally, whether that's through a brand DSP, a performance network, a bidding network, a PMP, audience segmentation, all of the amazing things that we heard the panel before me speak about, you want to make sure is participating in your mediation stack fair and equally. So I think the fair logic piece is also what's really key and critical. There's no black boxes. It's equally frustrating for demand sources not to understand why they're not accessing your inventory, at which price points, and which volume, as it is for you to understand who's buying your inventory. It goes, the transparency is on both sides, both on the mediation side and the monetization side, as well as the demand side. Last but not least was the transparent data. So we talked about audience segmentation, first-party data, second-party data, third-party data. At the end of the day, you want to make sure the pipes are supporting any type of audience segmentation that you want to enable to monetize your users. So the developers that are going to adopt this are the ones that are going to win moving into the future. This is definitely not the current state of mediation today, but it's really key and critical to ensure you're working with platforms that are fair and transparent, giving you the best opportunity to monetize all of your users and create that fair competition. All right, sorry, the clicker's breaking on me. Okay, measuring trust and transparency. So how do you do that? I think the key is for everybody to understand what's going on. So, dig deeper. APIs, reporting, it should not be a black box for you or anyone on your team. I think that's the piece that's really key and critical is having data and reporting granularity, both on bidding, waterfall, impression level revenue data, ad lifecycle metrics. All of these things are no longer nice to haves, but must haves to monetize. I think the last piece that I'm going to hit on is around auction transparency. This is really what's key and critical to demand partners. So they need to understand what's happening in the auction to bid on that inventory. So it's really important for them to understand what mechanics are happening within the auction for them to monetize that user. So this is definitely a slide our product team put together for me. So kudos to them. They can explain it much better. I encourage pictures to be taken, so I won't go through all of these things. But I think at the very top, you see all of the things that go into decisioning for a demand partner. I see pictures being taken. So kudos to our marketing and our product team who put this together. Right, so you have bidding performance data. You have waterfall performance data, right? All of the key things that you'll want to understand around managing your mediation stack. Ad lifecycle, auction insights, all of these things are really important to a developer. And you have your dynamic waterfall management as well as in-app bidding management, and all of that plugs into a unified auction, right? It's unbiased. And the unbiased piece is really key. It's important that there's not demand partners that are segmenting inventory for themselves and not letting all buyers compete at every price point. All right, so a little bit about Chartboost, just to end on. So, like I said, most folks know us from our 10, 11, 12-year history, great parties, amazing team members, best-in-class customer service. About a year and a half ago, we were acquired by Zynga and ultimately by Take-Two. And so, as part of our partnership, we operate as an independent platform, but they are migrating their inventory onto our platform. And I think what we can share is through the trust and transparency and creating competition on our mediation stack, through their titles that have migrated on, this is driving ARPU up for their users. So Zynga, being one of the largest ad monetization developers in the world, are leveraging trust and transparency to improve CPMs, to improve ARPU for some of their largest titles, such as Empires and Puzzles, Words with Friends, and Game of Thrones. So we'll be talking more throughout the show, as well as throughout the year, and sharing more details about what's happening with Zynga migrating on the platform. But the key takeaways are your mediation SDKs need to be a trusted partner. They need to be developer first, and they need to be neutral. That is key. That is key for you as a developer to monetize your inventory. 2, they have to be a data-first mediation SDK. They need to pass all of that data to your buyers to ensure that they are bidding on your inventory. And there needs to be transparency in what data they are passing. Last but not least is the fairness, right? Everyone needs to see every source of inventory of yours at every price point and be able to bid on that to drive the highest price for you guys. There's a lot going on in the market in 2023, and I think the one thing that's really key and critical for mediation is that there's a gap today with the fair and transparency, and we think that's a huge opportunity for developers to ensure that CPMs and pricing and overall monetization increases this year with all of the macroeconomics going on. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you. I think we're going to open this up for Q&A, although I was told there wasn't Q&A, so I'm ready. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, apologies, I think.
No, I'm just getting out of my face. Do we have a question for Maggie?
I have 3 microphones. All right. No mic? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so how are you thinking about enabling, right, a publisher to be able to get all that data, right? Like auction logs, auction data is extremely vast, right? And there's several jumps in the supply path. So you have, the mediation platform that buys from potential ad network that then potentially buys from a DSP or whatever, right? What kind of data would you want to surface in order to achieve what you said about data transparency?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, you're talking about on the buy side, correct? Like what's passed to buyers. It's really what they can ingest. And so truthfully, Chartboost has both a buy side and a sell side component. We're transparent on both sides. Everyone has a fair and equal shot. And what's key and critical is to pass everything to the DSPs or networks and let them decision on what's key for them. So whether it's price point, geo, audience insights, anything about that user that they want to bid on, that's essentially what's key, and not filtering out any of that. So everything through OpenRTB is what we would suggest passing on to buyers so they can monetize that inventory.
And you do the same with sellers, right? That you give also sellers, like publishers, you would also give
Correct.
all the results of that data too?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that's really key and critical is just understanding which public APIs are out there to understand the insights around who's monetizing which of your users, how to create segments, and which buyers are bidding on what segments of users.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Do we have time for maybe one more? No. Okay. Well, look. Thank you very much, Maggie. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.